There are a couple other miscellaneous files that are worth discussing briefly and explaining why we use them in 3061 lib. We're going to start inside of the .vscode folder. There's a few things in here, one of which is the extensions.json file. This is where you can specify in this JSON file recommended extensions. And so as a team, there's certain extensions that we find particularly useful. We want to make sure they're recommended so that whenever a team member opens up this project, they will be asked if they want to install these extensions. So I'll comment on them briefly. We use Spotless to format all of our code consistently. And we'll see that this also shows up in some other places. But Spotless is very important because it helps with merge conflicts in terms of when code is being changed. You can focus on looking at the differences based simply on actual code being changed, not formatting that's being changed. And so we enforce this where every time you build, it runs spotless on all the files to ensure they're all formatted correctly. So that helps quite a bit. We also use SonarLint as our linter to help detect warnings and potential issues. And so that helps us write more robust code and saves us time debugging. We do use a spell checker as well to make sure like we're spelling the words right, but also can help with errors where like due to a typo, you're not doing what you think you're doing. Git config user profiles is an extension that lets you change which GitHub user is being used on a given machine. So on shared laptops among the software team, this is a handy extension so that people can switch among their different GitHub accounts in a more convenient fashion. And the last one here is a VS Code extension from Mechanical Advantage. It's called Event Deploy. What this does is it automatically does a git commit when you deploy to the robot when you're at an event. And it knows you're at an event because you're in a branch that starts with event. I believe that's a trigger. And so this ensures full traceability at competition events. So we never run into the situation where we're not exactly sure what code is running on the robot because it wasn't committed. We know at an event the code is always committed. So we make use of that at all of our competitions. In the settings.json file inside of the .vscode folder, most of this is generated by wpi-lib and the project generator. There's a few things here that are specific. We have some spotless stuff here. Code actions on save. We have our default formatter specified for JSON and Java files. For the spelling, certain, we're going to check spelling in pretty much everything, but not JSON files and not Gradle files. Here's all the extra words that we're like, no, these are real words. We want to use these. So we have them captured here. By having these in the settings.json file in the .vscode folder, it travels with 3061 lib or with the project derived from 3061 lib, as opposed to these were living like in a user settings folder where it would not. So that's why we make sure to put them here. The last kind of unique file that's worth looking at is the build.gradle. Again, this comes through the WPI-lib project generator. There's some additional plugins that we specify that we use. We use this thing called gversion, which generates the metadata that gets logged with Advantage Kit. We'll see some of that in a moment, and Spotless as well. And what else is unique in here? Let's see. There's some Advantage Kit specific things in here to make that all work. Um, we have some specific XRP stuff in here. To We have the XRP with our robot config. You can have a robot config for XRP, and then when you deploy and run in simulation, you can check the XRP box and connect to the XRP that you're connected to via Wi-Fi, which is good. Um, so by default, the GUI is set to false with Advantage Kit. Um, so you can do log replay from the command line. We don't really do that, so we've changed it back to true. When we want to do log replay, we take advantage of the Advantage Kit feature, um, where the log file currently open in Advantage scope will be replayed. Um, and that's the way that we always do it. We don't really use it from the command line. So we leave this enabled so that when we're not replaying, it's very convenient for us to continue to simulate the robot code. Um, Here's some of the G version stuff. These are the variables or this is the formatting that we specify for different things in the build constants. We'll look at that file in a moment uh, as well. Here is the thing, just checking if it starts with event and actually making sure that it doesn't commit. So this is all for part of that event deploy stuff, which is super convenient when you're at a competition to make sure that you're traceable. More spotless type things here, different formatting and stuff. Pretty much like whatever the default is, but you can tweak this as necessary to match your own conventions in Teams agreements. So let's look at the generated file. So here's the build constants generated file. This is excluded from Git because it's generated as part of building. And this is what that G version thing does. It basically spits all these things out, has the hash for the latest Git commit, the dates, the branch, build dates, all these types of things. And so this all will get logged, and then it will show up in Advantage Scope under the metadata section as well, which is great. So those are some of the unique files related to like building and VS Code configuration that are relevant to 3061 lib.